Hey guys, it's Matt. The title of this video will be something like The Notnilc Master of Dependence. It sounds like an action thriller coming this summer. Notnilc Master of Dependence. There'll be case studies showing how it just works overtime to put an entire population in a state of dependence, where it can no longer, it being the population as a singular, can no longer do for itself. And we're conspiracy people to believe that. People around us just think it's all normal. So we'll do case studies, but we shouldn't even do that. I mean, I'll give you two guesses as to who put this poster together, but you're only going to need one. Let's just do a whole video making fun of Alec Baldwin, or at least we can do that for a minute before we get into the serious stuff. It's supposed to be a serious truth channel, but why? Let's just look at posters all day long. I'm not joking anymore. Now, Bill and I working together, I got it wrong. Alex said, "You're disgusting," to his daughter. Remember the famous leak? I thought Alex said, "You're a disgusting little pig." Bill and I working together, Bill made the correction. He said, this is the quote, no, to his daughter when she was 11, maybe on the 9th day of a month. He said, "You're a rude and thoughtless little pig." He didn't say disgusting, he said thoughtless. Guys, one more thing on Alec Baldwin. You've got to see this. Then we'll get to the very important discussion as to how Notnilc enslaves an entire world into a state of in-space dependence. The declaration of in-space dependence. But I was going to say this is hilarious, but that's how it starts. Hilaria Baldwin is the wife of actor Alec Baldwin. She was born Hillary Lynn Hayward Thomas in Boston. That's a mouthful. Bueller. He's out sick. Bueller. Hillary Lynn Hayward Thomas here. Hillary, well, where did Hilaria come from? See, is that her humiliation? Actually, her humiliation is marrying the man. But sorry, she was born Orwell's 1984. She and Alec married in 2012. That's supposed to be the Mayan end of the world. And they have 7 children. You don't think to match up with the Pleiades or something. That's how this reality works, guys. It's an endless stream of jokes. Could you imagine if anybody was overhearing what I'm saying? This could be all part of the script. I'm not even joking. She probably starred in Rust. So 30 more seconds. It was not Hilarious Baldwin. It was Kim Basinger that leaked to the press what Alec said to his daughter about a thoughtless little pig. But it says here, Kim Basinger, former wife of Alec Baldwin, were married in 1993 to 2002 and have a daughter named Ireland Baldwin. How they met? Who cares? Basinger, I'm going to read it. They met in 1990 while filming The Marrying Man. Isn't that ironic? Hey, Kim, that's the last person in the world you should have married.
Please hang up and try again.
Okay, guys, this is case study number 1 as to how they put us in dependence. This is not a stove video. I'm not trying to push another stove video on you. This is literally one of the biggest conspiracies of all time. I was blown away when I found out this information. I'm going to give you the conclusion now just so I don't lose people. Are you going to do another stove video? F this. No, you got to hear this. All right. In 1740, it's attributed to Ben Franklin. I don't want to get into who the founding fathers were or not. In 1740, whoever invented it, it was eventually the Franklin stove became the Pennsylvania fireplace. I had no idea how intricate this thing was. I just started looking at it. Matt, with all the stove videos, that's all you do in your free time. I had no idea. So here's the conclusion. Basically from 1700 through 1960, almost every single family home that stood by itself in the 35 cold northern states was built with a chimney. Tens or hundreds of millions, almost every single one, of course. Chimneys started to go away in the 60s and the 70s, all by design, though, all through Notnilc placing populations in dependence. 1740, the technology was there to have every single fireplace as a way to heat the entire home. Well, most of the home. Lose electricity for 2 weeks? No problem. Complete self-sufficiency. I'll show you how intricate this was. Of course, Franklin, whoever came up with it, stole. Okay, the Europeans are getting their back up. Yes, he probably stole some of the designs from the Swiss, the Norwegians, the Switzerland. Yeah, of course. You guys have been doing it a lot longer. But because this was the first one in iron. They were doing it with brick and mud and the tools that were in the beginning of 2001 Space Odyssey. Franklin was the first one to do it with iron and incorporate it into an existing chimney system. Complete self-sufficiency. Then it was lost. Oh yeah, I'm sure it was lost. That's the conspiracy. That you guys see, it was stamped out. It was removed by those that would be Exxon, that those that would be Rockefeller of the demonic finger touch. It was removed by that ilk. Of course, it was taken away on purpose. That's where we see it our way. And the people around, oh, here we go again with your conspiracy. Don't you know oil was cheap and everybody Oh, sure. That's what it was. Yeah, we'll see, won't we? Matt, what are you talking about? This is a block of iron. Yeah, they could craft iron in the 1700s, which they couldn't do in the past. That ain't shit, Matt. Oh, you throw your wood in this big iron hunk of shit, and then it radiates out a bit. You hunker around it, and you're not freezing cold anymore like you were for the past 1,000 years. No, it's not just a hunk of iron. Let me show it to you. I was friggin' blown away, but every spare moment of my spare time is looking at stove videos, so that's me. I hope you're equally as excited, but I don't think you will be. Now, when I saw one of the earliest versions of the plans, it was one of the greatest moments of my life. 10 times better than most people seeing, say, the Grand Canyon for the first time. I went, oh, oh, a baffle plate that draws air over the top, down, underneath, and then up. Fresh air system from the basement that winds around and heats and comes out. Oh, my God. Self-sufficiency for everyone in 1740, completely stamped out and removed by the Notnilc. It's not big oil, it's big oil. You want to tell me, first grade truthers? Big oil is one little tiny pimple on the Notnilc's back. Big oil is the Notnilc. It's not separate. Guys, when I saw this for the first time, it would be like Da Vinci time traveling and being able to stand in front of Big Ben for the first time, or Henry Ford at the Indy 500. It was the same experience. Oh, look at this. Load your wood and coal in here. It's drawn up and over this iron baffle plate, down to hold the heat, and then under into the final chimney system. Fresh air drawn up from the basement or even from outside that preheats through a winding baffle plate, which I'll show you if you're interested. Most aren't. And then exits out holes on either side, preheated to say 90 degrees. 1740 and 90-degree air blowing out on either side. You won't be able to sit around in a lounge chair naked, but for the first time in life, you're comfortable through the winter. All destroyed by Notnilc and Larry Silverfish and his minions, the Rockefellers. Guys, we have to do a little sidebar for just 1 minute. Strange curveball it just threw me. I went off to do some research about the breakup of Standard Oil and those trust busters that are working for you and the American people, of course. And I said to Google, who was in office as the U.S. president when Standard Oil Company, the Rockefellers, was broken up? And it said, here it is, AI overview. Hey, thanks. AI overview. President Theodore Roosevelt, that's Teddy, not FDR, was in office when the Standard Oil Company was broken up in 1911. Yeah, I'm not even going to do the oh no anymore. Just keeps happening. Well, what's the problem, Matt? The problem is Theodore Roosevelt left office in 1909. He wasn't even in office, so AI overview, I wouldn't give a squirt of piss for your ass right now. This is completely wrong. Here's the proof. William Howard Taft was the 27th president of the United States, serving from 1909 to 1913. 1911's in the middle of that. And the 10th Chief Justice, who cares he was Chief Justice, one of those puppets. Who cares? What it is, space, is Teddy Roosevelt started all this trust buster nonsense and the lawsuits against Standard Oil. He was a man of the people. He was in no way working with Standard Oil. You'd have to be one of those people. He started all the lawsuits, and then it all came down on Standard Oil. It was so horrible for them in 1911. Well, yeah, it was horrible, Matt. You wouldn't want to be broken up. Well, they were broken up into like a lot of little companies that you've probably never heard of. Not 7-Eleven. They were broken up into Exxon. You ever hear of that? Broken up into Mobil. Oh, basically every major oil company you've ever heard of. Amoco. It's the same logo as Standard, just changed the name. Probably Texaco. Every single major oil company that you've ever heard of, with a few exceptions, was the old Standard Oil. So do you think they just took it away from the Rockefellers when the Rockefellers controlled every single puppet in the House and in the Senate? They just took it away? No, they were still the majority shareholder. They made more money. Companies break themselves up all the time to make more money. Didn't you ever see Richard Gere in Pretty Woman? He says we break it up and sell it. He made more money because it was broken up. How stupid are people? Sorry. Let's get back to the main point here. So, as usual, we find ourselves in the same situation every single time. This technology from 1740 just went away in the 1800s. And people like you and me would say there's a conspiracy behind that. They made it go away because they wanted to heat your home with oil. You get your oil fill up for $600. I had an oil fill up here once for $600. Went, you got to be kidding me. This got to be wrong. Gas fill up, oil, gas, and you got those freaking heat pumps, forced air, and your electric bill goes to $195 or $280. This was self-sufficiency. We conspiracy people say there's big interest that made it go away. And probably like my friend Tony would be like, you people are doing it again. Everything's got to be a conspiracy. No, this is pretty obvious. I mean, we have some ones that are a lot worse than this. This one's just plain out obvious. The most obvious one probably of all time is how they didn't allow any public transportation in Los Angeles, and all these gigantic highways were built, 5 lanes when there was like one car in the 50s and 60s, like 1 or 2 cars. Nobody was there, but all these huge highways were built to snuff out mass transit. Of course, all coming from the auto companies through their puppets in the Senate and the House of Representatives. And it's just another pimple of Notnilc. The auto companies aren't on their own. It's part of Notnilc. And of course, here is the modern fireplace. Absolute horse shit crap that steals energy from your home, making the Rockefellers even richer. Well, Matt, you have all the answers. How would they get rid of the Franklin fireplace if it was so loved and one neighbor was telling the other neighbor how wonderful it was and word of mouth was spreading? How did they get rid of it? Well, first off, I wasn't there. Let me make that clear. I don't know exactly what they did, but we should know Notnilc by now. What would be one of its main tactics? You have to think like it. We should know by now. Through court order, lawsuits, using the courts to get whatever they want every single time, and then that influences the puppets in the Senate and the House of Representatives, and they probably did a cake and a lake event. It was like a false you-know-what. They probably, this family over here, they just died from smoke inhalation from a bad Franklin fireplace and carbon monoxide poisoning, and then that probably spread all throughout the newspapers like there's gold, 1849, like that false rumors spread around, and you just put it in your newspapers. Newspapers controlled by the Rockefellers. Think of that. They control the newspapers too with us. Family dies from smoke backup in Franklin fireplace. I didn't research it. I didn't go to newspapers.com. I'm just saying how they typically do it. So you have some tragedies, and whoever's making these Franklin fireplaces, because Franklin never put a patent on anything, never attached himself to anything, just said, here, take it. Whoever's making them are then sued out of business. The courts demand they go out, whatever, because these things are now deemed to be dangerous. I don't know exactly how it went down, guys, but I bet it was something like this. And then, see, the final thing is all the instruction filters down to the local towns, cities, jurisdictions that make the local building code and ordinance. And they say, no more Franklin stoves will be able to be installed because they're dangerous. If our building inspector comes out and you have a Franklin stove, we'll rip it out and throw it through your front yard. Then it comes down through local code and ordinance. See, no more Franklin stoves. Maybe if you have one from 1785, you can keep it. Your grandfather. Other than that, you're all out of business. Now pump yourself full of Rockefeller oil. So maybe in the late 1800s, somebody from the U.S. Senate or the House of Representatives called the Rockefellers to get their instructions, as they all do, and said, Mr. Rockefeller, should we allow them to build fireplaces at all then? Does any of it hurt your business? And no. Don't have them stop building fireplaces. Just subtly change it from the Franklin stove over to this big hole in the house. push fireplace building. Well, why, sir? Because, see, that makes us money. It's a gigantic hole in the house, and all the hot air will put this thing called a damper, this piece of shit metal flap, like the Tin Man, all rusted out. It goes flap, 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 and it's like 4-inch gaps, and all the heat will rush out of the house. That'll cost him even more. That'll make me more money. No, you allow them to make a big hole and a reverse thermal siphon that siphons the heat out of their house 8 months a year. Makes me more billions. You push for this type of fireplace. Now go, fly, 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 my pretties, fly. Yeah, I know it's a Mandela effect. I didn't just fall off the turnip truck. So the 1960s came, and a little problem arose for the Rockefellers, which, of course, they quickly overcame with mind control, as they all do. And in the early 60s, somebody from the House of Representatives called the Rockefellers again and said, "Sir, these fireplaces with the big brick wall and the hole, they're old-fashioned to people. We have all new design movements and trends happening in the 60s. And the Rockefellers said, "Well, you can fix it. Put the fireplace into the new design elements of these horrible, wretched 60s buildings. Get Edward Bernays. He's still alive. He's a sneaky little shit just like you and Niedermeyer. Get Edward Bernays on it. Make this shit stylish." So they continue to put the reverse thermal siphon in their house to make me even more money. Now get on it and make these pieces of shit stylish. And that's how they got through the 60s and the 70s. And just like they highlighted smoking in movies where the tobacco companies, of course, paid Hollywood for 40 years for the stars to smoke, they probably did the same thing with these piece of shit fireplaces. They had Rock Hudson laying around with his boyfriend in front of one of these 60s style fireplaces with the lava lamps and shit, and people were popcorn crunchers saying, "Honey, I want that. It's just a piece of metal. It's like a freaking piece of tube metal. It looks like hell. Honey, I want that." Then they were able to continue to sell this shit. Then, of course, what's old is new again, and everybody wants the old-fashioned colonial styles, and all the brick came back. That's how the Rockefellers were able to get through this period. Anybody's not following me, a regular fireplace costs the average homeowner an additional $50 to $100 a year in heating costs. And when it's burning, it actually costs the family even more. I'm talking about when it's not burning. The heat just rushes up all year long. And the air conditioning can't rush up, so the family's got that going for it. But any sort of heat when the thing isn't burning is lost through the chimney. Matt, you're not saying this is part of the conspiracy. Maybe I've gone a little bit too far here, but maybe. I do know the Franklin the stove and the ability to be self-sufficient using a fireplace and a chimney, which every family from 1800 on could be self-sufficient, at least partially, with wood and coal and using their chimney, not completely reliant on oil and gas. I know that could have existed in every home very easily from 1800 on. I know that was stamped out on purpose. The extent of the conspiracy after that, fireplaces being built just to benefit the Rockefellers, okay, I hear you. It's funny, but maybe I've gone too far. Maybe I haven't. The Notnilc, old guard, would the Notnilc be capable of this? Oh, you better believe it. It was capable of World War I and II. That's just a little worse. Oh, and one last thing that I noticed while we were doing this segment, the gematria of a fake world just keeps coming as usual. At the top it says now, then underneath choose yours, then a couple lines under, priced as low as $119. That's the 11 paired with the 9 again. And there's more 33s coming, and it's the gematria of a fake world. Don't be scared. That's the best news of all time. And real quickly, let me show you this. Again, Standard Oil breakup. Put your hands out. Identical. 1911, the 11 paired with the 9. Standard Oil breakup. Teddy Roosevelt started all of the legal stuff. 1904, 1905, 1906. Then it ended with Taft. Okay, just out of curiosity, I was like, when was the game Monopoly? When did that come out? Was it in any way associated with this Trustbuster stuff? I thought it came out a little later, but I went to check. And the AI overview says, the board game Monopoly was first sold in 1935. Parker Brothers purchased the game from Charles Darrow, the game's creator, for $7,000. He got screwed. Explanation. Darrow developed the game in 1933. There it is. Oh, no. There it is again. Had to work it in. Well, Matt, the AI overview is wrong about what years Teddy Roosevelt was in office. Maybe it's just kind of putting this in because it has to. Maybe it is. But that tells me fake world too. There's some sort of weird AI that has to work in Gematria numbers for some weird reason so creeps can maintain control of reality with weird buttons and levers. Well, that's fake world too. That's also good news. Celebrate tonight. It's Friday. I got to go back over here for 45 seconds, guys. Is there anybody around age 70 that knew somebody that had one of these pieces of shit fireplaces? Did your spouse want one? Did you want one in the 60s? You see a movie with like Paul Newman or something sitting in front of one smoking a cigar? Did it look good to you? You could say, honey, we could get the new Grace Slick album and sit around it in the winter. Won't that be great? Do you know anybody that actually wanted the sheet metal in this back in the day was only about 25 cents. $119. That sounds pretty low for a fireplace. First of all, they were fire hazards, and this is not me trying to protect the Rockefellers' position. They're fire hazard death traps. Nobody built a real hearth. They put them on a 70s shag carpet. Then big embers flew on the shag. People got smoked out and they got burned out because they wanted to put these 25-cent piece of shit tubes in their house. I hope nobody listening to the words coming out of my mouth wanted this horse shit. And here's an old political cartoon of Teddy Roosevelt, the trust buster. He's going to make these large monopolies and conglomerates pay. He's going to lower prices for you. But if you look into who funded Mount Rushmore with his head up there, I think the Rockefeller Foundation helped. I'm just making that up, guys, but you know it did. I mean, I don't know, but I bet the Rockefeller Foundation gave a little bit of money to that Mount Rushmore project in South Dakota because it ended up making them a lot more money. All the share, then it's off the books. Oh, it's a public now, Exxon. We don't own anything. All the shares are then hidden inside Vanguard funds, Fidelity funds. Half the fund is owned by the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and all the old money names. We need to do another video, folks, on the old Gilded Age money that still exists, and the dumbass dope on the street believes that these trust busters were working for him. Oh, the price of gas for 5 years went down 2 cents. I'm sure glad Teddy did what he did. Let's not lose sight of the reason I wanted to make this video, and it's not Alec Baldwin. We'll tease him many times in the future. It's in space dependence. The Notnilc works every single decade to create more and more dependency. This design created self-sufficiency. If you wanted to get through the winter without oil and gas, you could do it. Wouldn't be ideal, but you could do it. The Notnilc can't have these designs in the home fireplace. And by the way, any house built in the 20s, 30s, 40s, as the home was being built, could have easily incorporated these elements, even if you didn't want to use iron or metal. They could have incorporated it in the brickwork itself very, very easily right when the fireplace was being constructed. Instead, it's a box and another box on top called a smoke shelf, and then a smoke chamber, and it's all designed to F you over, and so you lose even more money. You think you lost money on FanDuel last week. You lost 10,000 times that with your fireplace as long as you've had the home. And to continue our story of how the Notnilc screws everybody over, somebody may be saying, Matt, I've heard of this Franklin stove. I saw it on Craigslist. I saw it at a yard sale. Yeah, you did. See, that's more mockery of maybe what the Notnilc did. There is a Franklin stove sold in the 1900s, 20th century, but very quietly they converted it back to the same old piece of shit iron box with no features, no baffle system that takes the air up and down, no ports underneath. They just converted it back to a piece of shit iron box. See, Franklin, he didn't patent anything. He didn't want to make any money on any of his inventions. He was so altruistic. He said the people should benefit. I hope he was real. I really do. But I don't know. Most people want to benefit when they make it. But okay, hey, we'll talk about that some other time. So see, anybody then could latch onto the name. He didn't own anything. No TM, no trademark on three-peat, none of that shit. So the Franklin Stove Company or whatever, another stove company started making the Franklin stove. Did they incorporate the design elements of 1740 with the baffle system and all the different incredible ingenious things to heat the home? No, they turned it into a piece of shit, inefficient 1950s style wood stove, a simple iron box that you just throw your wood in. Hey, it's better than a fireplace, no doubt. but it's just a piece of crap box you throw your wood in. And to most people, this is the Franklin stove, completely snuffed out because it just became a design that went backwards in technology. It's something far inferior to what was available in 1740. And if that's not a conspiracy, folks, and you think we're just one of those people, I can't help you. To close, you guys should know I don't do this anymore. There's a lot of BitChute videos available to you. If you want to look at this closely, it's going backwards. It's not going forward in terms of worry about yourself. I've said things like even if it's real, it's I mean, I don't, I don't go back. I don't do this. I don't do the details anymore. A lot of Brighteon for you if you want to do this and just keep spinning your wheels. Doesn't matter what part of it's this, what part of it's that. A lot of Odyssey for you. A lot of BitChute. If you want to do this, no matter what part's this or what part's that, it's what it wants. I will discuss the way this reality works in general, and in general, present the fraud it presents, and remind you to exit the illusion.